January can be long and hard here in the UK, as we all know.
First takeaway for the podcast.
First
January is
takeaway for the
long and
podcast:
hard.
just
Yeah,
get the
2025.
get the editor to cut that up as a nice social snippet just to cheer everybody up. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Medico Digital Podcast. I'm Louis, Digital Director at Medico, and we've got Ollie, our Managing Director, here today. Hello, Ollie.
Hey guys, nice to see you again, or hear you, or neither.
You're fresh off the plane back from Australia. How's it been transitioning back to the UK weather system?
It's been what you'd expect it to be. Coming out of the summer into the winter here is not fun, but vice versa is good. Anyone fancy spending January in Australia summer? Well recommend it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very jealous of the migration you made over the winter, and probably a sensible time to go. January can be long and hard here in the UK, as we all know. But we're not here
There
to
you go.
talk
There's your
about
first takeaway for the podcast.
first
January is
takeaway for the
long and
podcast.
hard.
Just
Yeah,
get the
2025.
get the editor to cut that up as a nice social snippet just to cheer everybody up. But as I was saying, we're not here to talk about the fact that you are now a person that holidays in the winter. We are here to talk about something a little bit more exciting, and it's our new power rankings, private healthcare power rankings. Now I'm a little bit. I guess I'm on the outside looking in. I'm just as curious as everyone else what exactly is going on here, what the power rankings are, and what you're trying to do with them. Because it's a project that's been a little bit secretive. I know you've been working on with a few of the team members, so really keen to hear about it. But let's start with what it is. What are the healthcare power rankings, Ollie?
Cool. Yeah. So basically, just to ground this is being a little bit of a kind of pet project, and we've been working on it with a couple of team members, kind of sort of a bit of hackathon style, bit of fun in the background to try to rank healthcare providers or healthcare brand websites based on the experience that they give predominantly to patients or consumers. So we at Medico are vested in the belief that online should be as accessible as possible to patients who are looking to access information about health. And we want to help support that and make sure that healthcare brands ensure their website provides the best possible user experience and for the customers in which they serve by ranking how good they are at their whole digital presence, basically. So what we started to do was to unpick what makes a good online presence in healthcare. What are those kind of key areas that patients would look for, or as just a general consumer using a website, when you go onto a website and you're looking for information, how do you make sure that you provide the best possible experience to those customers? So we created a set of categories, and then we have pulled in hundreds of different data points for each of those different kind of ranking categories. And then we have aggregated those rankings and put them into a league table to see who is providing the best possible experience for their patients. And in the hope that what we do is to encourage others to adopt some best practices, basically, to ensure that
Okay.
they're providing that.
So before we go into maybe those categories in a bit more detail, just to step back and summarize, what you're not doing here is pitting healthcare organizations against each other in terms of the quality of their care and patient outcomes. Just to clarify, as a digital marketing agency, are we staying in our lane here? Are we looking just purely at their digital presence, how they're providing that information back to patients?
Yeah, it's very much that. It's a bit of fun, really. We're just trying to showcase what good looks like when it comes to online healthcare information, and who's providing a good customer experience for their patients, and show some of for those who aren't providing such good experience, where some of those key areas of opportunity are to improve on.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's something that we talk about a lot is in the time of need when somebody needs to access healthcare information related to conditions maybe they or a loved one has, or to be able to find the right provider for them. How do they do that? And I think we know that that typically starts online. It typically starts with search, and there are a there is, sorry, a wide spectrum of how people are addressing those needs when you're a healthcare provider. So based on that,
Like,
and,
I
and
mean,
based on
just might be worth saying that it's also based on some personal experiences that I've had myself when looking specifically for a healthcare provider. And, you become aware that you are suffering from or experiencing some symptoms, and you want to try and find a suitable provider to try and help you to overcome that. And you go online to try and find some options or more information about the kind of symptoms that you're suffering from. In my case, it was some mental health, and I wanted to go and find a mental health provider practitioner who I might be able to speak to. And it was minefield. Like, you go online and you're Googling this, that, and the rest, and you're stumbling across various websites. And it is just really hard sometimes. I think, particularly in the case of mental health, because when you get to that point, there are so many providers that offer so many similar things, and it's quite hard to identify what is right for you. But it really brought home to me that when you're in a vulnerable place, you need to be able to, you need help. Like, you're going online to try and find some help, and it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, the amount of providers there are. Sometimes the experiences you come on to face on websites are just terrible. You're being signposted here, there, and everywhere, or advertisers, various pop-ups and messages, or being you can't find the information that you're looking for. It just becomes overwhelming and frustrating. And I think that really, for me, resonated why it's so important at that beginning of your healthcare journey, when you're ultimately in need and looking for help, seeking advice and care online. Then you need to make sure that you're being greeted with the best possible information, and you're clearly signposted throughout your journey to the help and support you need.
yeah, yeah, I think that's a really interesting lens to look at it through in terms of the personal journey that you've been on there. And I think you can look at it as it relates to other industries as well. If you are looking for a specific product and you're very much led by the marketing or the access to information or how people are presenting themselves online, the worst case scenario is maybe you don't get quite the right product for whatever it is that you're looking for. But I think when it comes to healthcare, and we see this time and time again, you see some of the best, most respected, most authoritative healthcare professionals in their fields presenting themselves in a way that is never going to kind of win over the um, trust and respect of patients that don't know any more about that. Whereas you see maybe some people that are newer in the field, not offering the same quality of care, able to through the power of marketing, I suppose, put themselves in a position that they might not be if it was just done on merit. So, with that in mind, given there are so many different aspects to how you present yourself online, what a digital presence is made up from, what did you and the team decide to look at when you're trying to break these down and pit one healthcare organization against another?
Yeah, cool. So there was 3 to 4 kind of key areas, and how we chalked this up. So one being around search presence, first and foremost. Your journey starts at Google. So how much visibility as an organization or a brand do you have from a keyword perspective? How much organic traffic are you driving? What is the domain authority? So a lot of those kind of key ranking factors that you would look at from a search, organic search visibility perspective. Then once we actually get onto the website, what we measured was a whole series of different metrics around content. So medical accuracy of that content, the readability, how easy it was to consume that information, the depth of that content, what are the different kind of media formats that were being displayed, all of those different things. We looked at accessibility. How accessible was that website in the eyes of both kind of web standards and from a Google perspective, looking at core web vitals. And then we also looked at just general user experience. How easy was it to navigate across the site? How uh, just a ton of ranking factors basically, and pulled those all together and then aggregated the scores and then put them into that league table, like I said.
Nice. The other place my mind goes on this is obviously the number of healthcare providers across the number of specialties operating within, presumably the UK is kind of where you're starting with this, is vast. And I'm assuming you haven't thoroughly managed to document every single healthcare provider out there. So who have you put into this new league table, and how did you pick them?
Yeah, good question. So we focused first and foremost with some of the top 20 private healthcare providers who, they generally speaking, are have a presence online and are investing, especially from a digital marketing perspective, in raising the visibility and accessibility of those brands. So we picked those as the biggest kind of top 20. Our hope and mission with this is to build that out and to incorporate more consumer healthcare brands, to look at other verticals within the healthcare sector. So look at medical device companies, look at pharmaceutical and life science sector as well, and create a really large overarching list, but be able to filter those by those kind of different verticals within the sector.
Nice. Without looking at the data and not having the data in front of me, I think I could make some educated guesses about who are in the kind of top two, three, four positions in terms of their digital presence, because I think there are some standout market leaders that just do everything very well. What would you say have been the most interesting or surprising things that have been thrown out from a project like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you would expect, I think some of the big international providers who have vast search presences come out very highly, do very well. I think there is a lot of overlap between some of those key areas. So where you have a strong search presence, it's usually accompanied by a well-built, well-structured website that is accessible from a web core vitals perspective, and then scores well across those metrics. I think there were some shockers down in the sort of when we really ranked, looked at all the rankings, and who
Yeah,
came
that's
quite
the
low
that's the
down.
question that everyone actually would want to know. I imagine people are skipping ahead to this part. Who's the worst?
Do you know what? I was surprised that he came last, and it
Are we
was.
are we going to name and shame, or do you
I
want
don't think
to
we should
let
name
people
and
go?
shame. I think we should let people go through the rankings themselves, and I'm sure hopefully we'll get some feedback, and some people will inquire a little bit more as to kind of how that was all calculated, how it was all weighted, and I could talk to you a little bit more about some of the more specifics about what we really kind of dug into, and how we scored things, and measured certain metrics, if that's
Yeah,
interesting.
let's do that. I think the last thing maybe to say on that point, I say who comes last, it little bit tongue in cheek. I think if you're looking at the top 20 healthcare providers, presumably they're all doing things well. There's no one kind of out there with any kind of deception or pure lack of medical accuracy and things like that. So maybe this is the worst of the best, I suppose, in terms of how we're looking at it.
I'd
Would
frame it like this: if you're in this list, you're an online player. You are one of the players online. So just being in this list shows that you've got at
you're
least
doing
a
something right.
strong digital presence. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, yeah. So people with thick skins, people who aren't gonna be too upset about where they're maybe placed in these rankings. But yeah, go on, dig into some of the metrics a little bit more.
Yeah, cool. So from a search perspective, there's tons of metrics that you can pull from lots of different SEO tools and aggregators around kind of estimated keyword visibility, traffic, things like that. So that was actually the relatively straightforward part of this exercise in collating all these different scores. Where it got a little bit more interesting was to think about, well, how do we actually measure how accurate the content on a website is? And how do we do that at scale, especially with some of these providers where you're talking thousands of pages in a sitemap where they've got all different types of resources, blogs, condition pages, treatment pages, investor pages, consultant profiles, whatever it may be.
Mm.
How do we really kind of dig in and measure all of those and provide a score? So we thought about this for a while, and then we thought, actually, a really good way to do this would be to create a custom GPT, which would go in and assess based on the ranking criteria that we provide. So we went away, we looked at what does good look like from a medical accuracy standpoint. What do we do for our clients when we are ensuring the highest standards of clinical accuracy when it comes to content? And that is things like making sure there are relevant citations and references, making sure that it's been validated by a healthcare professional, making sure that it's been regularly updated, it follows most recent guidelines from other high authority places like the NHS, like NICE guidelines, all sorts of things. And we created, or we programmed a GPT basically go through and assess a website based on where that clinical content is housed on the website. So treatment pages, condition pages, blogs, where you'll typically find medical information. And then what we did was we got this program to run and go through, basically crawl entire websites and to put together a measure and assess all of that, and then come out with the score at the end of it. And then we ran that specific program across all of the different providers on the site. We also made that GPT public so that other people who would like to have a go and use it to see how accessible or how accurate in that particular GPT instance their content is, you can access that online, and we provide links in the subnotes for you.
Nice. So if you are languishing at the bottom of the leaderboard and you don't think you've been given a fair shake, you can go and recreate the steps and create your own, and maybe upweight certain other factors to try and see if you can dig yourself out and up the leaderboard a little
Yeah.
bit more. I like that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, worth saying for some of the others, we had a readability one, which used some already existing tools that exist around measuring the readability of specific content. We created one for user experience using a user experience framework that already exists, and then program that into a GPT to be able to crawl websites. So there's loads of different ones that you can have a go with, and lots of different kind of ranking factors that have been pulled into this. So I guess the kind of key thing to say here is, take some of it with a pinch of salt. That this is not the gospel to whether on the accuracy of these particular metrics, but it's a pretty good go at it.
yeah. I think that's probably an important disclaimer. Is this is not a rigorous scientific, completely objective study. But I suppose if off the back of this we generate a little bit of discussion about the importance of the patient experience, how people can be ensuring that kind of clinical accuracy, and what kind of standards people should be aiming for if they are in charge of a healthcare presence, and how they set up store on the internet, I suppose, and what patients are looking for. I think that would be a really good outcome from this. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you'd like to touch on about the power rankings, or should we let people go and see and debate them for themselves?
Only that our intention also is to make these live. So we want to continue iterating on these, monitoring the performance, and have it as a live league table. So kind of counter what we said earlier, pit people against each other a little bit moving forwards to see if we can encourage, inspire other healthcare organizations to continue upping their online digital game, by creating a bit of healthy competition. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Would love to see all of those scores rising across the board, and I'm sure they will do even without this, because we know that there is a lot of importance that's placed on digital marketing and the importance of that, and especially from a patient perspective. But yeah, that's the thing to remember. Ultimately, it's about providing better online experiences for patients.
Nice. Well, next time we catch up about the power rankings, perhaps it will be in the form of the Medicos, the inaugural Medicos, and we'll be handing out awards for digital presence in specific aspects. Grammys,
Love
watch your
that.
back. Okay, cool. Look, we've been waffling on for about 20 minutes now, so let's wrap this up. If anyone wants to see the power rankings, where can they go to find that data?
They are housed on the Medico website. Again, link in the comments. Also recently made a few updates and tweaks to the Medico site. Any feedback on that, welcome. Practice what we preach, and actually, if you find anything particularly inaccessible or not particularly user friendly on our site, call us out for it because we're trying to set the standard here.
Yeah, you've just absolutely invited somebody to set up the digital marketing power rankings and put us right at the bottom there. So let's see if we're about to reap what we sow. Well,
Check out our web core vital scores.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, good speaking about the power rankings. Interested to see them get up on the site and keen to see who's at the top, but more keen to see who's at the bottom. So thanks. Lovely speaking to you and catch you soon.